What's good, everyone, and welcome back to another reaction video. Today we are reacting to Film Theory, The Backrooms is Your Worst Nightmare. So for those that haven't seen The Backrooms yet, spoilers ahead, because without doubt this is going to have so many spoilers. So yeah. Anyway, I hope you all enjoy this video nonetheless. Like, comment, subscribe. Be sure to hit the like button, notification button, support the channel, be notified when new videos come out, and all that other good stuff. And if there's any videos you'd like to recommend that I should react to, put it in the comment section below, and I'll react to it as soon as possible. The link to this video is going to be down in the description below. So with this all said, hope you all enjoy. Be sure to give Film Theory love and support once again. And yeah, let's get started.
Somehow, The Backrooms just got even bigger. Yeah, with the feature film now in theaters, the more we learn about the world of The Backrooms, the more I'm realizing that this maze of twisted hallways and yellow wallpaper isn't just a labyrinth you can get lost in. It's your own worst nightmare, and it'll eat you alive. Hello internets, welcome to Film Theory, the show that's serving up a chunk of the subscribe button right there on a plate for you. Go on, take a bite. The best part is you can eat it. So after years of waiting, the Backrooms movie is finally here, and I literally dropped everything and worked over the weekend to get this script for you guys. For real though, shoutouts to A24 for inviting me to an early screening of the film in LA. I couldn't make the trip out there myself, I live on the East Coast, but we did send a member of our team who helped me get a head start on this script with their notes. But when I did get to see it the Thursday this movie came out, the theater was just packed with a ton of younger moviegoers, which I think is just so healthy for this industry. And it looks like my theater wasn't alone. As of the writing of this script, it looks like the movie's gonna make north of $80 million its first weekend. It made back its entire production budget in just the preview day. All I can say is, man, congratulations to Kane. Your hard work has paid off here, and you—
Yeah, his work over the years with the Backrooms finally went to the big screen, and damn, he did a great job.
You, along with all of the other YouTubers turned filmmakers this year, are showing that passionate creatives, no matter where they get their start, can make wonderful art. You have a bright future ahead of you, my friend, and I can't wait to see what you do next. But how was the movie itself? Well, this is exactly the type of horror that I really click with. It was ambient and had very strong themes, even if the characters weren't necessarily the deepest. Kane has mentioned in interviews that he wanted the film to feel more or less like an episode of the web series, but with a feature film budget. And in that, I'd say he was completely successful. And that also means that we're left with a ton to theorize about after those credits rolled, my man. Our current ongoing theory about the Backrooms is that this dimension of endless hallways and fluorescent lights is some sort of entity remembering the world over and over, eventually misremembering it the more and more it does. In fact, in our most recent Backrooms timeline explainer, we suggested that this entity may be a man named Ivan Beck, a scientist who works at Async and is one of—
Probably should have saw that video for a reaction video. Yeah. My bad. That's my
the central characters of the series. And let me just say, this film added to that idea in so many ways. There was so much new lore and information added on here, giving us probably our biggest and clearest new addition to this storyline since the whole gosh darn thing started. Yeah, this film told us that the Backrooms can be anything and anyone, and that it'll take the darkest parts of you and make them even worse. So once again, don that hazmat suit, loyal theorists. We're headed in as we explain the Backrooms movie. So first off, let's speedrun a recap of the plot so we can get to the real meat of the analysis and theories here, because it is important. The film starts out with a classic found footage style async tape dated June 19th, 1990. That lines up with the dates from the rest of our timeline. Here we follow a character named Naren Warren as he explores the Backrooms. He's been separated from his group of other async researchers, and something is chasing him. Though our first real jump scare is just a freaking seagull flying into the room, It's strange. Naren eventually finds some radio equipment and tries to contact Async for help, but it doesn't work. Whatever is chasing him eventually catches up and kills Naren, though the camera survives and is later recovered by Async. Anyway, we then meet our main characters for this particular story. First, there's Clark, who's a failed architect running a furniture store and is estranged from his wife, and Mary, his therapist who has flashbacks to her own traumatic childhood with a mother who seems to be suffering from elements of paranoid schizophrenia. Yeah, just like we predicted, Clark's Ottoman Empire furniture store isn't doing super hot in the film. In fact, he's only really doing that job as a way to make ends meet, since what he really wants to do is be an architect. And if he really wants to get started down that career path, he should probably get some help, something made much easier thanks to the partner for today's theory, Strawberry.
Okay, I'm not going to show that. If you want to see the thing, go ahead and check out the original video. Okay, I think I just need to go there. But yeah, if you want to check out what this is all about, go ahead and check out the original video and see the sponsor. I'm not going to take anyone else's sponsor, so yeah. Anyway, here we go.
Back in the Backrooms. Clark has been kicked out of his house and is sleeping in his furniture store. And though Mary is trying to help him work through his problems, he has an angry outburst during a therapeutic roleplay session. Anyway, things are strange at Clark's furniture store. His electricity bill keeps going up for reasons he can't explain. And there are odd breakers that don't seem connected to anything in his breaker box. One night, as he's exploring strange lights and sounds, Clark notices a slit in the wall of the lower part of his furniture store. This is actually a null zone or a portal leading into the Backrooms. Understandably, Clark is confused but interested and does some searching. He finds a bag left behind by Naren, the caveman cut out from the trailers, which has a tape player broadcasting the greetings from NASA that we talked about in a previous theory. So this is Async trying to communicate with whatever's in here. And then he's chased back to the entrance by something unseen. Thankfully for Clark, he's able to make it back into the real world where he obsesses over the Backrooms, believing that it's some sort of secret underground complex and not a weird alternate dimension. He goes in every night, mapping out more and more of it, but is frustrated when Mary doesn't believe that he's found anything like this. I mean, understandable. I would also think that he'd probably lost some marbles. So Clark recruits his assistant manager Kat and her boyfriend Robbie to film a video inside the Backrooms for proof, but that ends predictably pretty bad. Robbie is killed by an unseen monster while Kat and Clark are separated. Clark carries the camera at this point, and we get another awesome found footage section, very reminiscent of the web series. Here, he encounters several strange, monstrous humanoid entities that chase him, and eventually he comes to a dead end in a pool room of sorts. He hears Kat on another side of a wall, but can't see her, and as they're trying to figure out how to get to each other, something appears behind Clark and picks up the camera. And let me just say, it towers over Clark. Cut to black because, I mean, of course we're not gonna get to see the monster yet. Sometime later, it's unclear if it's hours, days, or even weeks, Mary is woken up by a phone call from Clark, who says that he won't be coming back. Mary goes to investigate his store to check on Clark, worried that he may have hurt himself, but also finds the entrance to the Backrooms. Fun fact, but she figures out that she can walk through the wall here and into the Backrooms because a fly does it first. This was actually just a fly that was on set that they couldn't get rid of, so Kane and his team just worked it into the actual story of the film. It's fun stuff. Anyway, cool. Mary goes in and explores it.
That's some actually great improv right there. You can't get rid of the problem. Use the problem to for inspiration for your film. That's actually really cool. Not gonna lie.
Eventually coming across a strange mural painted on a wall. It seems to depict the weirdness of the Backrooms architecture, a hazmat suit guy, and a dark figure dressed like a pirate. That looks very similar to the mascot of Clark's store, which he dressed up as earlier in the film. Clark appears and knocks Mary unconscious, taking her to a house in the Backrooms and tying her to a chair. It's literally like a dinner scene where Clark reveals that he's gone a little, okay, a lot insane. And this, my friends, Backrooms is where the story really digs into its themes and drops some huge lore bombs for the series. Really, it was probably my favorite scene in the whole film. See, Clark and Mary aren't alone here. Several other, well, people? Well, I hesitate to call them people because there are Backrooms monsters in the room with them. In the community, these human copies are known as still lives. We actually first saw one back in Found Footage 3 with the creature chasing Ravi through the Backrooms. Also, the idea that Found Footage 3 was actually like a prelude made to lead into a lot of the ideas in the feature film makes way more sense now looking back. Anyway, these still lives are basically like Backrooms versions of real people that actually exist. Exactly the same way that the Backrooms is misremembering and recreating places in the real world, it does it for people too. In the film, this is represented by a large, bearded man, a shorter man in a wheelchair, and a redheaded woman. As Clark explains in the film, somewhere in the real world, there are real versions of all of them. But here in the Backrooms, well, their faces are twisted, their clothes are wrong. They just aren't quite right. It's like describing a dog to someone who's never seen one before and then asking them to draw it. This is such an incredible concept that just opens up a giant can of worms of what can be done with the Backrooms universe Kane is creating here. And it makes for some great scares. But in this film, right here, it also creates what might be one of the greatest scenes in the story. See, while Clark is explaining all of this to Mary, he looks at her and says, "The best part? You can eat them." He then rips open the shirt of the larger man, sticks his hand into his stomach, and pulls out a bit of his body. Now, to avoid this just being a gory mess, what's inside the still life isn't blood or anything like that. It doesn't look human at all. It's like white and almost fluffy. At first, I thought it kind of looked like furniture stuffing, but given the sort of squelchy sound effects, the sort of gel-like consistency they have as Clark places the chunks onto plates, and how they look a little bit moist, well, it's not furniture stuffing. Bonus little fact here, but this also tells us that the seagull we see earlier in the film was actually from the real world. You know, the one that flies in during the scene that scares the Asen guy in the cold open? Clark finds it later and it's been killed and it just has regular blood and guts, not like this white stuff. So I guess it must have flown in through a portal near a beach or something. Anyway, it actually looks a little bit like what you get when you break open a mushroom. Yeah, I don't know if you've ever done this, but if you like step on a mushroom out in the wild or just cut into a raw mushroom before you cook it, you'll know that they're often white and spongy on their insides, like what you're seeing with the insides of these still lives. Now, that connection could just be a bit of a coincidence. They could have just chosen white as the innards because they knew that this was going to be gross and didn't want too much blood for this psychological horror. But if it is like a mushroom, this also connected to another thought I had about the Backrooms. We know that the Backrooms do some funky stuff to electricity and electromagnetism. We've talked about that in detail in other videos, and here in this film, it messes with the electricity in Clark's store and interferes with Robbie's camera. But did you know that fungi can use electrical impulses to communicate? Yeah, they send small electrical signals through their network of mycelium to other mushrooms that are connected with them. So maybe something similar is going on here. All of these still lives are connected in some way, or the Backrooms is connected in some way. I don't know. Is it a long shot? Maybe, but it was a thought that I wanted to share. Anyway, as the two keep talking, Mary tries to convince Clark to let her go, until the true monster of the film finally shows up. It's a still life copy of Clark himself, and honestly, this copy Clark is just, he's terrible. He's unnaturally tall and gangly. His face sits right in the uncanny valley. He's dressed like a pirate, representing the Captain Clark character that Clark made for the store. He's basically all of Clark's worst attributes come to the forefront. And really, when you scratch past the facade that Clark is putting up, there's real darkness in there. Here, let me explain. It's a bit difficult to catch on first viewing if you don't know what you're looking for, but I'm fairly certain that the redheaded female still life is a Backrooms copy of Clark's estranged wife. Clark has trouble acknowledging her, and in one of the most horrifying moments in the film, he cuts off her hair and slaps it on Mary's head as they do a messed up, twisted version of that therapeutic roleplay between Clark and his wife. Now, already, Clark's mental health here is just messed up. He's taken Mary hostage, probably killed and eaten Kat, and has definitely been eating some of the still lives. And he also reveals that he probably wasn't the best person in his everyday life either. Now, to be clear, this has nothing to do with his alcohol addiction or how he's hurting Mary here in the now, but instead, it's how he treated his wife. As the copy Clark approaches, the still life representing his wife just bolts out of the room, terrified of this creature. These still lives seem to be echoes of the real people that they're based on, taking key aspects and emotions of those people that they're molded after. And what is like the only thing we see this woman do that we see her react to? It's not getting her hair cut off, it's running from Copy Clark. She is so afraid of Copy Clark and all of the rage and aggression that he represents that she sprints away from him at full speed. And if Copy Clark is representative of Clark's true self just boiled down to his most essential elements, well, he was probably a very violent man. And this is really where the themes of this particular Backrooms story come to a head. You literally have two completely different ways of handling trauma and grief sitting at this table. You have Clark, who feasts upon it, who wants to get lost in it, to wander the endless hallways of his own mistakes, and literally says out loud that despite trying, he doesn't want to get better. And then you have Mary, who has taken her trauma and refuses to be trapped by it. Her entire life and career has been about breaking through the walls, trapping herself and her patients. And she refuses to stay trapped here. She refuses to stay locked in the back rooms of her own trauma. Though, sadly, she does realize it's too late for Clark. There's actually a moment a little later in the story where after she escapes, she looks back at Copy Clark, who is reaching out for her. And now that she was safely away from him, the look on her face isn't anger or fear or sadness, it's pity. Anyway, probably a bit because she wanted to save herself, she tells Clark that he can wallow in his own self-pity and hatred, but that she wants no part of it. And so he lets Mary go. And when Clark tries to reconcile with Copy Clark, to tell him that it's gonna be okay, that they don't have to change or leave, Copy Clark eats Clark. Clark is literally consumed by his own trauma, locking him here in the back rooms. Mary runs and tries to escape from Copy Clark until she's eventually found and, rescued? We're gonna go with rescued by Async, who also captures and dissects Copy Clark. Mary is taken through Project KV-31 from the web series and back into the real world. And as an Async scientist named Phil tries to get information out of Mary, she stops talking, realizing that they might kill her. And that, my friends, is where this particular story comes to an end. But we learned so much about the Backrooms and its lore here from this film. Like, check this. I mentioned at the top of the episode, but our current ongoing theory about the Backrooms is that it's a sort of recollection of the world, distorted because things change every time you remember it. At first, I wondered if this was like an individual entity or God remembering all of these places wrong, but in my previous theory, going through everything we had about the Backrooms up until this point and laying it all out in a timeline, I thought that maybe the complex was somehow created by the mind of Ivan Beck, a character who doesn't appear in this film but is considered by Kane to be both the main antagonist and protagonist of the universe. I don't want to dive too deep into that right here and go over it again, so go check out that video if you're interested in learning more about that. But the ending of this movie changes that for me again. See, the film ends on something really cool. We see a montage and revisit a lot of sets and scenes from earlier in the film. Clark's store, the interior of Mary's childhood home, a corner shop, the rubble of Mary's childhood home, and even the sign for the giant tower they were gonna build over the site of that old home. But it's not those real places. It's not in the real world. It's recreations of all of them inside the back rooms. In fact, we even cut from Mary in the Async interrogation room to an identical shot of Mary in a rundown, distorted, dirty version of that same interrogation room in the back rooms. For a split second, I actually wondered if Mary completely hallucinated everything with Async and escaping the back rooms, and if she just lost her mind and was still inside. Until it cuts to a close-up on the Mary inside the back rooms interrogation room, and it isn't Mary. It's a still life copy of her face distorted, exactly how Mark described would happen. In the real world, Mary was sitting in Async headquarters wearing her floral shirt with blood all over her face. And in the back rooms, there's another Mary sitting in an Async headquarters wearing a floral shirt with blood all over her face. But it's wrong. It's misremembered. It's not quite right. Just like every other scene we see in this montage of moments from the movie, stuck in the backrooms. And I mean, that isn't even the only example in this movie. Earlier in the film, when Clark is first exploring the backrooms, he comes across a recreation of the scene where he, Robbie, and Kat are filming a commercial for his store. But it's just his throne and Robbie and Kat's shoes, all sunken into the floor. It was a still life of that moment, misremembered until the only things that were left were the seat and the shoes. Don't you see what's happening? The backrooms isn't just what Ivan Beck sees in his mind, misremembered over and over. I mean, that still could be a facet of it, one small part, but it's not exclusively from Ivan Beck's mind and memory. No, the backrooms is basically taking shots of the real world, frozen in time like a still life, and then it's recreating those moments in liminal space over and over and over. Misremembered just a little bit more wrong every single time. And it's taking those moments, big and small, from all of history. That's probably why the backrooms are so big. I mean, there's a possibility here that it's taking these little still life snapshots of literally every moment, every nanosecond from every square inch of the planet, repeated endlessly over and over, a little different every single time. And if that were the case, I mean, we knew the backrooms were big, but that would be unfathomably huge. The film left us with so many unanswered questions. Like, we know that an async employee named Peter Tinch was lost in the backrooms and may or may not have escaped out into the real world. But, well, was that Peter Tinch? Or was it a still life of Peter Tinch? And even beyond that, we still don't have a full grasp of how time works within the backrooms and why it can be so messed up. Of the bacterial life form that was completely absent from this storyline, and both async and the role they're playing in this story are still up in the air. Plus, we didn't even meet Ivan Beck. Man, I just can't wait to see where this story goes, because given that opening weekend box office, we have a brand new mainstream horror franchise on our hands here, friends. But hey, that's just a theory. A film theory. And cut. Up next.
Okay, so this is an interesting one, I'm gonna be honest with you. This feels like less, we only get like ideas and theories at the end, but we basically got what the film's basically about, if you haven't seen it yet, because I know that some people that don't really care for spoilers just watched, maybe. Anyway, main thing. The Backrooms is a very complicated mystery. We have people who are still alive, we have people who aren't still alive, and honestly, the still lives are easy to get and understand, because still lives don't look exactly like people. So it's going to be a bit hard to actually get the wrong person, in all honesty. Unless they come out originally looking the same, but then later don't because of something of the backrooms. Hard to really say, really. But we know what's going on here. There's just a lot more mysteries to come, and there's going to be a sequel. I'm actually really interested in seeing how that goes. So with that said, I hope you all enjoyed this video. Like, comment, subscribe, hit the notification button, be notified immediately when your video comes out. And yeah, other than that, I'll be sure to see you all in the next one. Bye, everyone.